what is the greatest lesson do you think that time has taught you?
The greatest lesson that time has taught me is this. Make sure what you're seeing is worth applying in your life. In other words, if I wanted to, not if I wanted, it was in place. Mr. So-and-so would say to the parent, I'll take your young, at the holiday time, he's out of school.
Yes.
And I will take him under my, we call it wing. That's what chickens do.
Mm-hmm.
And they need more. And teach him or her things they should know.
You think we've lost that?
Been lost it. Been lost it. How to live life is not a way that you can just pick out of what should I say, anything like that. It's a way in life as one believes in the Creator. A way of life that one believes in the Creator.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of The State of the Nation with Dr. Stanley James. This evening we're going to be doing talking a bit about wisdom, endurance, and hope for Bermuda's future. And to glean some information or some insight into that, we're going to be talking to a gentleman by the name of Mr. Holland Landy. Mr. Landy represents almost 100 years of Bermuda history, in case you didn't know it. Mr. Landy, before we get into who you are and what you remember about Bermuda, tell us how old you are, please.
Interesting. Right now, 3 years. Yeah, I think it's 3 years from 100, which means 1977. And I'm chiseling that down, which will be 98 very soon.
How soon?
So, now, I don't know how you're going to balance this with me, because sometimes when I get mouthy, I don't know when to stop.
That's fine. We don't have a problem with that. But you
I don't know when to stop.
That's fine. We won't have a problem with that.
Like that, then I had to return.
Well, let's begin then. So if you're going to be that way, let's get into it so we can allow you as much time as you need to let us know how you feel. Now, you've seen Bermuda at its best, and some might say at its most uncertain. Tell us what life was like when you were a young man in this country.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, with me, I could say life was wonderful. Still wonderful.
Yeah.
However, when I go back to those years, I would have to say there were times I, as a young person, found it a bit difficult. But then there were times that things balance itself out and something wonderful would take place. So I can't even put a mark and say that it was really a difficulty for me. I can't say that because there are things works itself out. Our God takes care of those rough areas, smooths them out. That's what I see even today. I see it the same way. My God smooths the rough areas out, not me. I can't. I don't have what it takes to do it. It's too much of a great thing. And I use the word great. It only means size, and I use the word great. So I am pleased with the fact that I've had wonderful exposure
And experiences.
Experiences and experiences. Matter of fact, I just met one of my students when I used to teach at the SEC. You know about the SEC,
Yes,
don't you?
yes, yes, I've heard about it.
Yeah, oh, you
Yes,
did.
I've heard about it. I wasn't here when it existed.
I just met one of my students, and it's a glow that comes into me when my student greets me with a happiness approach. And I just met one, and we had a low power. Now, this is what's wonderful about life. We have to be able to mix like you do when you're cooking a soup. You know what you're going to soup,
Yes,
don't you?
yes, yes, yes.
This, that, and it ends up soup. That's what you call it. And I call it super togetherness.
Many young men today feel that, Bermuda isn't offering them opportunities. But back in your time, I'm sure that it wasn't very easy either. But how did young men make their way back then?
I like the way you put the question, and I'm got to see if I can symbolize things so it's understood. The how says there was a difficulty. It was a question of the have and the have-nots. Still is. It hasn't changed. But when you have people like Mr. Tucker, and I'm going to bring you to the point of where the lights are in the Paget area.
Yes.
You know,
Paget stoplights.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm going to bring you there. Because that's where he lived.
Which Mr. Tucker?
Mr. Brady, you want me to clarify who he was?
Yeah, I have no idea who Mr. Tucker was.
Right.
No.
Yes. Well, he was one of our number one builders. He studied architecture. He passed on that to me, and I used to spend some time with him in the evening when the young men like myself, out enjoying themselves, skating, or any activity things that they want to do in that evening. So Mr. Freddie Tucker, J. Fred Tucker, and I don't know what the J was, but I'll take the Freddie Tucker, at the lights in Paget.
Yes.
All of that there was his development. And I spent evenings with him studying architecture under him, right?
Yes.
So that sort of, I would say, put something in me to recognize structures. If I hadn't done that, I probably would have paid too much attention to somebody's house that was well built. Wouldn't have meant anything to me.
Right.
But because what I had gained from Mr. Freddie Tucker, right, made the difference. I could look at the walls, I could look at the windows, I could look at the ceiling, and I see within that something that's beautiful. Because we are running into a problem now, and I'm going to put it like this. Our young people, male I'm talking about now, not female.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Don't have the handwork, right, coming from structure that they should have, because this is where they live. It's all right to say, well, bring Stanley from somewhere else who has the experience, blah, blah, blah. But we have taken a loss there. And now I'm going to come straight to when I was teaching, right, the young man, right, structural teaching concerning building, because I was qualified.
Yes.
And it made a difference. And I meet them today, and they greet me like a I would say a son with greater father. That's the only way I could put it.
Mm.
And I just met one not long ago. And I mean, literally, he lit me up. He brought I had any lights on it, I would look like a Christmas tree.
What do you think made Bermuda special in your time? Was it community, values, work ethic, or a combination of all three perhaps?
You can put all that together. Community means a composition. That's all it means,
Right.
right? Now, you take the composition, and here's the closeness of this whole thing. Somebody who was not even connected with my family as far as family is concerned could correct me when I would be wrong. We lost it. We had lost it. Why they corrected me? Because my family that I came out of meant something to them.
Yes.
It's unfortunate. I think we're sort of lost much of that. We are getting to the place where we're distant. This hurts Bermuda within itself as a place of compositional people. And it's a bit upsetting to me because I have been well traveled. You name it, and I've
You've
been
been
there. And the only problem that I have seen is language. And there is no problem when you have a projection within oneself. Your eyes means a lot, right? So therefore, I don't even worry about when it comes to language, because just like the animals understand us signals, the eyes, the hand. And when you speak to your animal, the animal when you go to school, I know your language. An animal knows your language. Here. And I'll have to make it a point that it is the spirit that transects all of this. We don't make any of this ourselves. We're not big enough to do it. So what comes through us from the spirit relates becomes a language within itself, person to person.
When did you first notice that Bermuda was changing?
What do I?
When did you first notice, or did you notice at all that Bermuda was changing? When did you first notice that?
Let me see. You bring your volume up a little more, because after all, this is almost 100 years.
I hear you.
Yeah, different.
When did you think Bermuda first started changing?
Oh, it's unfortunate, but I'm going to say it like it is. When they decided to bring people in Bermuda to do what is to be done in Bermuda, that's when the change came about. I'll tell you why the change comes there. Because if you take Joe, and Joe is taking care of this here because Joe knows all about it from where he came from. How is them Stanley going to benefit? Stanley don't benefit. So it means Stanley has to take something else put in place so that he can continue to live comfortably. This is where the trouble is. This is where the change took place. It's not I could say it. It is a common thing that nations will do that. Whatever the reason is, that's not the issue. The issue is they take the edge off what a place probably had, and all they had to do is improve it. That's where I am. Just improve your situation. Don't have it that, Joe Blow, he's sharp because Joe Blow, so many years, he put in this, so his excellent at it. So what we do is put George on the side. You see my analogy when I'm using those names.
Indeed. But do you not agree that there was a need? Do you not agree that there was a need to bring people in to help develop the country?
Of course, I agree that there's nothing wrong with bringing some in to help, but don't let that help take over.
And you think that is what has happened?
That's what happened. That's where we got our mistake. That's the reason why. And I taught up the sect, giving the sect, teaching the young men the trade. And they decided, well, we'll scrap this school, take it over in the Paget area. I'm getting a little political now. And when they did that, it's amazing how the system that we did have that was so training our young man was lost. Because it came afterward not necessary to have that.
Right.
So if you think about it today, we do not have a technical institute. I have a little problem with that institution thing too. I don't like it.
Yes. You don't like that too?
I don't like it. I'm saying like it if I don't like it. Say school. Don't give me but here's school here and an institute. Don't give me that. You take me right off when you do that.
Some people say that Bermuda has lost its identity. Do you agree with that? Do you believe that?
Technically, I have to be cautious of how I handle that. I'm going to try not to be political. Right?
Right.
I'm going to try not to be political. But political reasons, many times, creates a situation. Every country has that. Not just some countries. That's the reason why you have war. And I mean just that. War in groups of persons who feel that they are being denied. This is where our problem is. So if we went back, and I'm going to come straight down the line, if we went back to our old system, and I came along, as a young man, after you go 13, you become a man. Before 13, you're not a man.
In your day, when you became 13, once you hit 13, you were a man.
I was a man.
There you go.
Anyhow, the point I'm making here is this. Fathers, mothers, uncles, aunts, grandfathers took interest in the young people. In other words, if I wanted to, not if I wanted, it was in place. Mr. So-and-so would say to the parent, I'll take your young, at the holiday time, he's out of school.
Yes.
And I will take him under my, we call it wing. That's what chickens do. And they need more. And teach him or her things they should know.
You think we've lost that?
Been lost it. We're taking the attitude now, it looks like it doesn't matter, because we could always say, well, I can reach over there, pull a group from here, from another country, bring it here,
supplant them here,
take care of the situation, then the group could go back. That hurts. When I came along, we didn't do all that. I will say one thing to that. Because Spain, Portugal, for which we are familiar with, but it's the same people. Right? So we say Bermuda, who was of Spain. So we stood on the fact that they were entitled to be in Bermuda, and which we do have now, very much so, right? So it meant that we became broken up, part Spanish, a little of Ethiopian. I'm going to use the word old Africa. Say it any way you want to say it.
Yes.
Or you want to say it. They took us and broke us up. So that's what we are now, I would say, broken up into the Spanish,
Portuguese.
which is Portuguese, yeah. They are Portuguese. I've been there. They are Portuguese. And I have nothing against them. As a matter of fact, part of me is, and I'm not going to show you anymore. I'm not going to show you anymore, but part of me, my great-great-great-grandfather came from there. You can look and see, you don't see no full African Mexican in me. I'm not, right? Because my great-great-grandfather was out of Portugal.
You've lived through a series of events in this country: recessions, strikes, political upheaval,
Yes.
social change. What do you think, which period was the hardest during your lifetime?
The period that was the hardest during my lifetime, I would say I must have been about 17 years old. It was frightening to me
Why so?
because the political situation did this with us. It broke us up. This group of people, that group of people, this other group of people living in the same country. Why did we need to have this group, that group, that group, when we all had to go through the same thing if we're going to continue to live?
Yes.
We didn't need all of that. So many times that put me in a position that I removed myself. When a political situation came up, I just removed myself. Because I said, why should I be fighting the person who is living in the country that I'm living in, and we all got to work things out amongst ourselves?
Which political party was in, what was it, the UBP that was in power at that time?
They didn't call it UBP.
What was it called?
I'll tell you why it wasn't called UBP. The name was not quoted because the person who had enough money to have property here, property there, property over here, they were the political power. Before the party business came in, and it only came in when it said per vote, per senior person, then the party thing came in. Prior to that, it wasn't a party thing.
You own
It was
property.
strictly, thank you very much.
You-
So if you owned the property, you ran the country. And I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't have no problem with it.
Why not? Wouldn't you have thought that that was unfair?
You know, no,
Why no?
I didn't see it unfair. My stomach was full every day. So what's unfair about that? What is unfair about that? And the man said, well, we're going to do something over here. I said, well, let him go ahead and do it. I didn't have to do it. He did it.
What if I suggested to you they kept your belly full to keep you quiet?
And what?
What if I suggested to you they kept your belly full to keep you quiet? How would you respond to that?
I'm trying to iron out exactly how you quoted that. To keep me quiet.
Yes.
Now I'm poor. Poorer than poor. So what's the quietness about? That's my point. What is the quietness about? If I'm poor, I'm subject too. So when you're saying quiet, you mean if I say to you, look, man, I'm hurt, that's what you mean?
No.
I don't think you meant that.
I mean, they kept you content so that you wouldn't feel the need to perhaps push back or look for justice if you felt that there was injustice?
Well, I'm going to tell you straight out. If my stomach was full, I was satisfied. I was satisfied. My stomach was full. That is a satisfaction to me. Because my point is, why should you have to fight the next man because you felt that he was taking something from you? He didn't take nothing from me. That's why that's why our churches fulfill an order with the people. And it's still that way.
Now, you would have seen many strong men fall some to hardship, others because of the choices that they made. What do you think made the difference between those who survived, like yourself, and those who didn't? Mentality or smarts?
Mentality. There's nothing wrong with nothing wrong with doing a service, right? And somebody else benefit. As a matter of fact, it's a pleasure. That's where the pleasure is, really.
In serving?
Yes, in giving. That's where pleasure is, giving. To think, man, I had something to give. If you didn't have anything to give, the question then would be, what's your purpose? You ain't serving anybody. You ain't doing anything for anybody. So if you're not serving anybody, you're not doing anything for anybody, what are you giving? You're not giving anything because you ain't serving nothing.
You're just existing.
See? So even now, like I said, if a need comes in and I'm capable and able to take care of that need, I will take care of
that need. There's a lot of pressure on young men today to be successful, to be able to provide for their families, provide for themselves even, and to live up to expectations. What advice would you have for someone who feels lost or think that they're not up to scratch, they're not meeting that standard?
I had a problem like that myself.
You did?
As I was growing up.
Yes.
Because I just felt that I was not equipped enough financially. I wasn't equipped to satisfy the need until the time came and I realized, you do what is shown to you to do, and the need is taken care of. The need is taken care of. What I'm saying here is, if you was walking along the street and there was a situation there that you could be hurt, and I stepped in and said, "Look, help," hesitate. That's it right there. Without somebody saying, "Look, go down and help George." Nobody tell me help George. I saw the need.
Yes.
And this is the main focus, I would say, with man and his brother. That's the main focus right there.
Do you believe that faith played a bigger role in your generation than it does today?
Yes. It does.
And what did faith mean to you? What did faith mean to you?
Faith means to me that I believe in the Almighty.
Yes.
That's what it means to me. It does not mean that I believe in you.
Right.
I mean, come on, we're the same. So why I got to believe in you? We're the same. You are a dependent just like I am. So I got to go beyond that. That's the issue. Sometimes you have to just overlook But it is a fact that mentally we at times get to the place where we are unable to comprehend the way we should. Take time out. And when you take time out, that very thing that you had a problem with trying to comprehend will become fulfilled in you. That's not our job. Your Almighty does that.
Do you feel that, well, a lot of young men today feel that they have to be tough.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of young men today feel that they have to be tough.
But nothing wrong with being tough.
But they also feel isolated, despite the fact that they're trying to portray themselves as being a tough guy type of thing. How did men in your generation build friendships, and brotherhood?
You know, I'm good. I like that. I'm going to say this. When I was coming along and we had a fight, I'm fighting John. He said, well, John's in trouble. Look, he's fighting.
You didn't lose too many fights.
Didn't lose too many. But you would see John and I somewhere almost loving each other. How come? How come? You see John and I at another function, and we'd be like brothers.
How did that happen? How was that able to occur?
I'll tell you why. Men like to show off.
Yeah.
And a fight shows you to other people. Oh, yeah.
So you and John would fight, but then you'd bury the hatchet, so to speak, and be friends. How were you able to do that? Because it doesn't seem that our young men are capable of doing that today.
That's where the problem is. They do have a big problem there. We didn't want to try to kill each other. Most times it was almost like a show. You know, people like a show?
Yes.
When you take a person and put them in a show, man, the stars, we call them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the people's clapping, oh, they love it.
Right.
That's how we had a relationship going years ago in Bermuda. We didn't try to kill each other. A big show was put on. And everybody likes to be noticed. So you was noticed. And the people would clap you. And I can remember at one time, one of my brothers, they were younger than I was the older. And he liked that too. And I helped to train him how to fight. So I said, he got in the fight, and the fellow was smarter than him. Had the edge on him. So I called out to him. He looked at me. I said, you lost it. Give up. Let him be the star. That's it. So he just gave it up. He lost the fight.
Right.
And the other men became the star because they wanted to fight.
But how did they rekindle the friendship after that?
How?
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you why how. If you were to observe, I'm going to take this line, two roosters battling each other. And then they battle. No, you take, I'm a countryman. You take those two roosters and they'll battle. Then which one has had enough? He'll give up. Else is right. Battle's finished.
Yes.
But yet those two roosters will be in that area day in, day out. They're not fighting each other day in, day out. The proof was that rooster, one of those roosters was greater than the other. So the rooster said, man, I ain't fighting him. So we are not just any different. We're not any different. That's why it says, go to the creatures. And it says the creatures will teach you The creatures mean the animals that are into the composition in the earth. And that same animal that battle, and you ever seen two roosters fighting? How come those two roosters still around the yard picking and carrying on and eating? How come?
Young men today tend to feel as if the world is against them. You know, that they're continuously fighting an uphill battle. What advice would you give to a young man who is losing hope?
I didn't quite get that last part.
What advice would you give to a young man who is losing hope or feels that he has no hope?
It's his fault. You did say he felt like he had no hope. It didn't say that he didn't have any hope. God has provided that. Hope for all breathing persons. So when you hear a person, well, you don't know God, I said, don't talk to me. I don't even real stupid. I might hit him hard. I said, because we all have the same hope. And if you pay attention, it's the things that happen in your life, trying to get the word now. Well, life projection, I'd probably use that. You'll come to find out you benefited. So what's your problem?
So, after all that you've seen, all that you've experienced, all that you've lived, what are you most grateful for? What are you most grateful for?
Oh, good question. But I'll answer you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm most grateful for the exposure that I have been allowed to have. Now watch this. You know where North Rock is?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
I've been out on that edge, eyeballing a veil. And you know what I said?
Yes.
I'm looking at the veil, I can only see one side of the veil. The veil's big. The eye of the veil looked like a football, looks like a drama. And the veil is up. I'm looking at the veil, and do you know, I was not even afraid. And the reason why I wasn't afraid, because I would say the movement of the veil, and looking at the veil, looking at me, I felt full confident that veil was not going to hurt me. And the veil didn't. North Rock, that's a high point. Then everything goes, and the veil just maneuvered itself into deeper water. And the tail of the veil was bigger than my boat. The boat that I was in, 18 foot I had there, right?
Out at North Rock?
No hard time, 18 foot up. And the veil tail's wider than 8 feet. You take the span there, and the nail just pulled itself out. And I saw it, and it just go down in the depth. That gave me a confident feeling. And I said, thank you, Lord. I still do it. And I have problems, some comes, and I could see things changing. I didn't do it. And I say, thank you. This is where we are lacking now. We don't know how to think the best of things that we get. We don't know. And I'm going to make a point here that things are that way because, unfortunately, we are, I'm saying we, that's just a clause, have failed to bring things in where we used to have it. Now, not that we were perfect. Not that. No, not that we were perfect. We made ours. But I think we have allowed it to go too far. out of control.
If history had to write, you know what, now let me ask you something different. If you had to give young men just one lesson to live by, what lesson would you give them?
Good question. The question that you have asked, I can only say how I would give it based on how it affected me when I was young. And this is how it affected me when I was young. Mr. So-and-so was Mr. So-and-so. In no way that I would answer back Mr. So-and-so if he said, you do so-and-so, or you do this, do that. I respected Mr. So-and-so. We have lost that portion.
That sense of respect for each other?
Yes, we lost. We have fallen in line with what I should say, ordinary things, which even the animals leave it alone after a while. That's why I said, go to the creatures and they'll teach you. And they don't have a classroom. So what does it mean? Observe.
After almost 100 years, because you're approaching 98, after almost 100 years of watching Bermuda, rise and fall and fight and grow and develop, struggle and survive, what is the greatest lesson do you think that time has taught you?
The greatest lesson that time has taught me is this. Make sure what you're seeing is worth applying in your life.
Make sure what you're seeing is worth
What you're
applying. Seeing, is worth applying in your life.
Yes, because one has to be careful how he feels about himself, and there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with you feeling great about yourself. Not a thing on it, right? But be careful. Don't have it that my greatness is here and yours is way down. You ain't got no greatness. Don't do that to me. Even though it's written that what little one has, as far as poverty is concerned, even that will be taken. There's a fact, and it happens. But being poor, nothing wrong with it. And you're depending on the Creator who made you.
If history had to write one sentence about Holland Landy, what would you want that sentence to say?
I want that sentence to say that I believe in the Creator who made me, not John, Stanley, Susie, and George, because they don't have anything that could really cover my soul. They don't have it. They themselves is struggling. So if a person is struggling, how can I help you? Take a man out and just put him out in the ocean there. He's struggling to survive. How is he can save you? That's the way I am. You can't save me because you don't have that which is necessary to do it. However, I can say this much. You could give me some of your hope. That means some of what you believe. That's all that means.
After all that you've experienced, how do you remain hopeful at the age of, well, I'm going to say 98. How do you remain hopeful at the age of almost 98?
I didn't quite get that.
After all that you've experienced and all that you've seen Bermuda been through, how is it that you remain still hopeful?
I still don't quite.
I'm asking, based on everything that you've experienced and everything you've seen Bermuda go through, all the changes and so on, how is it that you still remain hopeful?
How would we? Oh, you said the children, did you?
No, how do you remain hopeful?
How would I?
How do you remain hopeful? How do you keep your hope
how
up?
do I remain?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I know why I didn't get that little part there. How I remain. Well, I'll tell you how. There are times when things come by me, and within me a question comes up: how long am I going to be able to survive? Well, okay. How long is it going to be that I'm going to be able to continue into surviving conditions? Into conditions, let's put it that way. Then the answer comes, it's not your place to know. Not my place to know. The one who had put me on the planet Earth is the one that determines it. The one that giveth is the one that taketh. And sometimes, I'm going to be honest with you, sometimes a little rough, and I said, man, I don't know you can make it. A little rough, sometimes I would just feel like much of whatever was a part of me, like it's going. And I'm saying, oh boy. Then I say, stop. And you will understand why certain things took place. And many times, that is something that somebody over here needed through me. Why? Because they was observing me. So the point, when we look at a point that ourselves is, well, I may use that, a pace setter. I will use that. Ourselves. We didn't know. We were the pace setter for that person over there. We didn't know. But we were used as the person over there.
And one last one. Give us some advice, us young men, some advice on how to live life.
How to live life is not a way that you can just pick out of, what should I say, anything like that. It's a way in life as one believes in the Creator. A way of life that one believes in the Creator. That's who I am. I believe in the Creator. And if things, those happen, and I'm in, I would say, uncomfortable position, I leave it alone. I said the Creator's can take care of that. Regardless how I went, whether it was hurting up here or hurting anywhere else. You understand what I'm saying here? Sometimes he said, oh man, why do I have to go? I said, why do you think you're the only person that goes through that? You think you're the only? Body is a body. And most of us, whether we want to admit it or not, goes through the same thing. Uncomfortableness, pain, this, I would say, a discontent in the mind. We all go through that. And ain't anybody on the face of the earth that could tell you they haven't had it. And if you say, well, you know, I thought, I said, when you say you thought, you know, don't mean anybody else. Right? So it means many times our faults are that we have is within ourselves. Not John Henry. Don't blame John Henry. Oh, well, John Henry, he didn't, no, John Henry. I said, what God has for you in place, it's for you in place, not John Henry. And once you reach that,
You're right.
just go on with the flow.
Mr. Landy has seen men rise, young men fall, recuperate, and continue. He has endured where others did not, and yet through it all, he remains hopeful. Today, his words have the power to challenge, to guide, and to give hope to a generation that desperately needs it. We hope that you've paid attention and that you were able to learn something from Mr. Landy.
Mr. Landy, thank you so very much. It's been a pleasure.